Welcome to podcast 44 in the series of Who Let the Master Out. Today, I'm going to talk about how emotional energy can leave a kind of echo behind. Because we are made of energy, our emotions can also leave behind a type of residue in the physical place for a time. You know, there are molecules all around us, and we are made of molecules. So, as an example, let's look at perfume or cologne. The molecules of this liquid spreads and changes the energy of the molecules that are in its vicinity. That was what allows us to smell the change in the atmosphere through our nasal receptors, even after someone has gone from that area. The, scent lingers. Well, we also have feeling receptors within our being. When we are in fear mode, our senses are being bombarded with so much noise and information that the emotional echoes left behind are most likely muted by the great noise of fear. But if we are in a place of peace and quiet within ourselves, our fear emotional noise is turned way down, and it's then that we can become aware of the emotional echoes that are around us, especially if they were strong emotions from before. An example of this occurred for me when I was visiting a friend. He shared a house with several other roommates who lived in the floors upstairs above him, and I hadn't met any of them yet. He lived on the bottom level of the house, and they had a separate entrance through the backyard from the walkout patio in the back of the house. So when I got there, I entered through the sliding glass door, and that was his little personal entrance. After we greeted each other, we went into his living room area, and I decided I wanted to sit on the floor in front of the couch, not on the couch, but, in front of it, where I could rest my back against the couch bottom. And as I was sitting there, I was suddenly just overwhelmed with emotion. I felt very sad, and almost to the point where I wanted to cry. My friend just looked at me, and he asked me what was wrong. And I shared with him what I was feeling and how it felt like my heart was broken. And he just stared at me with unbelief. And then he shared with me that one of his roommates from upstairs had just been sitting in that exact spot I was sitting now, tearfully pouring out her heart because her and her boyfriend had just broken up that day. It's crazy. And maybe you have been to an area where there had been strong emotions encountered there. Maybe it was a place where an amazing concert was performed, or there was a healing circle or a drum circle, or maybe a beautiful love-filled ceremony. You might still sense the amazing love energy that is hanging around in that space. Or maybe you have visited like a Civil War battlefield or the site of the Twin Towers in New York. Or maybe you visited a house where someone was murdered or is known to be haunted, or people were tortured and abused there. You might even walk into a room where someone just had an argument. You can just feel the thickness in the air, is what we call it. So you might have picked up on that fear-filled energy that is filling that space as well. If any of these were extreme situations, that energy could hang around for months, years, decades, and maybe even in the case of a battlefield, that emotion hangs around for centuries because there was so much of it. However, just like the fear-filled emotion can hang around, we can also transform the energy around us by flooding it with unconditional love energy. I have cleared homes for people that had fear energy hanging around in it, and I've also taught them to do it themselves through learning to flow the unconditional love energy like we've talked about in some previous episodes. What I'd like to do now is just briefly share how I do that. And by no means is this the only way to do it, but it'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about and how you can do it, with your own little twist to it. And I always encourage, creativity and do things the way your heart guides you to do it, because that's why we're here, not to duplicate a bunch of what we're doing, but create new ways and especially, out of your own self and your own heart. So if you want to do this along with me, please join me. And so we're just going to kind of start here. And I usually sit on the floor, of where I'm clearing the energy around. I just take in some deep breaths. And then I place my palms of my hand face down on the floor. I just do both hands on the floor. And then I close my eyes. And I let the love energy flow down from above into me. It comes down in through where your crown chakra is, and it just fills up your being. I let it overflow out of me through my hands into the floor. Because I have my eyes closed, I just picture it in my mind as the energy spreads through the floor. And as it reaches the walls, it goes up into the walls and up into the ceiling. And I see it overtaking the entire home, room by room, wall by wall, floor by floor. And if it's a home with land, I see the energy spread out of the building itself into the ground, into the yard, and out to the boundary of their property. And it creates a shield around the entire place. You can picture a wall of energy just reaching to the heavens all around and deep into the earth down below. And then once the structures and the land are flowing with this love energy, I see the energy expand to the point where it begins to fill the air and space all around us as well. And in this presence of unconditional love, anything that is not of love and light has to convert its energy to unconditional love, or it has to leave the area. Shadow cannot exist around light. So if it doesn't want to convert from shadow, then it has to escape the bright light. And we are powerful, supernatural spirit beings that are made of unconditional love. We are also emotional beings. Our unconditional love energy flows through our hearts, and it can overpower all other emotions. Because if it's not of unconditional love, then it's of fear, or the fear of losing conditional love. And the bright light of unconditional love dispels any shadow if we allow it to. Now you can even try this when you are in an area where you are feeling, the fearful emotions of people in a crowd. So, or maybe you're sleeping next to someone and you can know they're going through something, and or sitting next to someone and they're going through something challenging in their life where fear has grasped them in its grip. Or maybe you're standing in line at a supermarket or stuck in traffic. No matter what situation we're encountering every day, you can take a deep breath. You don't have to close your eyes. You don't have to make a bunch of mumbo jumbo with your hands or anything. You can just sit there and just let that unconditional love fall down into you, fill you up and overflow to what's going on and around you. You'll find that it is amazing how we can change the emotional fields that are all around us. Next episode, I'm going to talk about how sometimes we develop emotional energy connections with other individuals. But until then, break the cycle, be free, be big, because you are a giant in a world full of giants. And you've been taught that you're weak and that you're small. But those are all lies. And it's time to rise. It's time to let your master out.